Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about Jay-Z's song 99 Problems, and it should be fun. This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And this is David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Well, Christina, when you introduced me to the idea that we would be talking about this, I have to say I haven't heard this song, but now I have, because I've heard it to prepare for this. And this really depicts a traffic stop where he's doing all the things that we recommend. So what was your inspiration for this?
Well, I was just doing a workout playlist and it came up, and the second verse just made me laugh because it's the perfect interaction between law enforcement and someone who's been pulled over and has something illegal in their car. So I thought, this will be a video where we can just break down what happens in the song and talk about what the person did right. So.
Okay, well, I've printed out the lyrics here. We will be omitting a word or two here and there, but so we'll just we'll just do the first. We'll do sort of section at a time here, and you can tell us like what's he doing, what's going on here. So here's his lyrics. Now the year is 94 and my trunk is raw. In the rearview mirror is the something something law. I got two choices, y'all: pull over the car or bounce on the devil, put the pedal to the floor. And I ain't trying to see no highway chase with Jake. Plus, I got a few dollars. I can fight the case. Okay, so, apologies to Jay-Z, but that's what he says in that part.
Right. So the person's, in their mind, like, should I run? I know I've got something illegal. Or should I just pull over? Well, he pulls over. He does the right thing, obviously.
Okay, so now, moving on through the song here. So I pull over to the side of the road. I heard, son, do you know why I'm stopping you for? 'Cause I'm young and I'm black and my hat's real low, or do I look like a mind reader, sir? I don't know, he says. Am I under arrest or should I guess some more? And the cop says, well, you was doing 55 in the 54. So what about that exchange?
Right. So, he's wondering, the driver's kind of putting it on the officer, like, are you arresting me or what's going to go on here? And, that always is going to make a law enforcement officer step back a little bit. And so the officer tells him, hey, the reason I pulled you over, and it's funny because he says, you were doing 55 and a 54. So, that's like ding, ding, ding. There is not a valid stop here. So this case is going south pretty quick.
So it technically, really, Jay-Z, the character Jay-Z in the song, could probably drive away at that point, right? Because there is no reason for this stop.
Well, no, he's going to have to, stay there, listen to what the officer says, but, he's going to go hire a lawyer, and that's the first thing we're going to go after, no valid stop.
Okay, so in the real time of the stop here, as Jay-Z is talking about in the song, the next thing that happens is the cop says, license and registration and step out of the car. Are you carrying a weapon on you? I know a lot of you are, is what the cop says. And then Jay-Z says, I ain't stepping out of this. All my papers legit. And then the cop says, well, do you mind if I look around the car a little bit? And he says, well, my glove compartment is locked, so the trunk is in the back, and I know my rights, so you're going to need a warrant for that.
Right, so a lot happens here. Basically, he's got his license, registration, everything that he needs. He's going to hand it over to the officer. The officer should go back and run his license, his registration, make sure his insurance is valid. But he jumps ahead and says, hey, do you have any weapons on you? And so he's improperly expanded the scope of the stop. Now, it was just an alleged speeding traffic violation stop, and now he's wanting to get into, do you have any weapons on you? Well, he's skipped the important part of going and checking the license and registration, coming back and giving him a speeding ticket or not, and letting him go on his way, because a traffic stop is supposed to be very narrow and only for the purpose of the original contact with law enforcement, which is to write the speeding ticket. So now he's inappropriately expanded the scope of the stop, and he's asking him about weapons.
Yeah, and another thing that's happening here, and it's about to accelerate in the song, is the cop is clearly trying to sort of intimidate him, because he says, he implies a lot of you, quote, wink, wink, carry guns. and acting kind of brash with the guy. And now he says this. The cop says, "Aren't you sharp as a tack? You some type of lawyer or something? Somebody important or something?" Is what the cop says. So really intimidating language, which has got to be, realistic. And then Jay-Z says, "Ha, I ain't past the bar, but I know a little bit, enough to know that you won't illegally search my blank." And then the cop says, "Well, we'll see how smart you are when the canines come." So the cop is really escalating the temperature here in the exchange. But Jay-Z's doing all the right stuff, isn't he?
Right, he's just holding steady. The officer has asked him, I think during that part he says, "Do you mind if I look around your car a little bit?" And, he says, "Nope, everything's locked up. I know my rights. You're going to need a warrant. You don't have consent to search my vehicle." And so now the officer has to go on to plan C in this whole thing. Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait for the canine. And I love it because I can't tell you how many times it takes way too long for the canine to get there. And, the court finds that the person was unreasonably detained. They were kept on the side of the road too long, and they didn't have probable cause to search. And they were trying to get it by having a drug dog alert on the car, but you can't keep the person waiting on the side of the road. So again, something that, just through the course of this second verse, we have basically, a second reason to suppress the evidence, that being he unreasonably expanded the scope of the stop, and now potentially a third way to suppress the evidence if it takes too long for the canine to get there.
Wow. Okay. Well, a lot of things going right for the driver of the car and sort of wrong for the police. So, he handles himself really, really well, and people don't always, and so they might need a lawyer, and that might be you. So how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. We'll include a link to the song and a link to our website where you can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.